being of Elmore, President and Founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association. We at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association practice the Buddhist teachings as taught by the 13th century Japanese sage Nichiren Shonin. The word Nichiren means sun lotus and Shonin means priest. Now, the way that Nichiren Shonin teach Buddhism or taught Buddhism, he taught that the highest of the Buddhist teachings was that of the Lotus Sutra, and we strictly practice the teachings of the Lotus Sutra. Now, we have an exciting topic for you today. Our topic today is called Donald Trump, Billionaire God King. Now, at the time of this lecture, the most talked about person in America is Donald Trump, who is the Republican Party presumptuous nominee. In essence, Donald J. Trump is the leader of the Republican Party in America. While he is the leader of the party, he is one of the most controversial political figures in American history. One thing that you must understand about this Buddhist lecture, we at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association challenge the perception and way that Buddhism is taught in the world. Most people perceive or associate Buddhism as an Oriental religion, whereas you see some Buddhist monk on some mountain meditating. Certainly, most people perceive Buddhism as an Oriental religion. True Buddhism is not Oriental, and true Buddhism is not about trying to reach some idealistic, tranquil state of meditation. Now, we at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association are the Black Revolutionary Buddhists. We are trying to get as far away as we can from the Oriental image of Buddhists as possible. One of the greatest ways for us to get away from the image of the Oriental Buddhists is to associate with Donald Trump. Now, this is what Donald Trump writes about China. Now, this sounds very good, but he writes this about China. Number one, bring China to the table by immediately declaring its currency a currency manipulator. Number two, protect American ingenuity and invest by forcing China to uphold intellectual property laws and stop their unfair and unlawful practices of forcing U.S. companies to share proprietary technology with Chinese competitors as a condition of entry into the China market. Number three, reclaim millions of American jobs and reviving American manufacturing by putting an end to China illegal export subsidies and lax labor and environmental standards. No more sweatshops or pollution havens stealing jobs from American workers. Number four, strengthen our negotiating position by lowering our corporate tax to keep American companies and jobs here at home, attacking our debt and deficit so China cannot use financial blackmail against us, and bolstering the U.S. military presence in the East and South China Seas to discourage Chinese adventurism. Well, all of this sounds good. All of this sounds attractive. And of course, this is one of the reasons why Donald Trump is the presumptuous Republican nominee. Now, my lecture again is called Donald Trump, Billionaire God King. Now, in 2008, the most talked about man on planet Earth was Barack Obama Jr. While the world talked about Barack Obama Jr., we at our Buddhist temples and Buddhist meetings said nothing or hardly anything was written about Barack Obama Jr. In 2008, I did a Buddhist lecture called Barack Obama and Buddhism. I even did a story called Sarah Palin and Buddhism. You see, what we try to do at the Proud Black Buddhist World Association is teach the Lotus Sutra and teach that Buddhism is not an Oriental religion, but Buddhism is our everyday life. And of course, certainly in America, if you look on the news, like anytime you turn on CNN News, it's bombarded with Donald Trump stories. So one of the ways to teach Buddhism is to tie it into the current events that we see. And of course, Donald Trump is very, very noted on the news. Now, what you learn about Buddhist faith is the fact that Buddhism, other than the Lotus Sutra, is totally out of reality. If you talk to the Nichiren sects like the SGI, Nichiren Shoshu, and Nichiren Shu, ask them about their lecture or their idea about the potential of Donald Trump being our next United States president. We at the Proud Black Buddhists teach a non-Asian way of teaching Buddhism. Earlier we said the most talked about man is Donald Trump. Now, while these are stories are written about Donald Trump, we provide a new Buddhist and black perspective of Donald Trump. That's exciting because in Buddhism, we practice the idea of inclusion, and we should have inclusion. Now, let us put the story of Donald Trump, billionaire God King, in a 21st century explanation. Now, in the Buddhist religion, or from the perspective of the Lotus Sutra, the Lotus Sutra talks about that there are gods and men. In the Buddhist religion, the Lotus Sutra talks about a god as a function. Now, in the function of the Lotus Sutra, it talks about the 3,000 worlds in a momentary state of existence. Now, let us put this in a 21st century explanation. Now, in the days of the Roman Colosseum, men would fight to the death. And when one fighter subdues another fighter and makes the other fighter helpless, he asks permission of the king, who was like a god, whether he should kill him. So thumbs up mean let him live, thumb down mean to kill him. Now, what we have is a 21st century Roman Colosseum spectacle in the television show that was headed by Donald Trump called The Apprentice. Now, in The Apprentice, it is the ultimate job interview show that features 16 to 18 British people who compete over the course of a season, with usually one contestant eliminated per episode. The original prize for the first 6 seasons was 1 year, $250,000 starting contract to run one of Trump's companies. Each person typically ended with Trump eliminating one of the contestants with the words, quote, "You are fired." This is a 21st century Roman gladiator idea that when you entertain someone or when you eliminate someone, you can give another human being the thumbs down. And it was good to say, and it was exciting to some people to say, hear Trump say, "You are fired." Of course, such a position puts Donald Trump as the status of a God king. When a person achieves the wealth of $1 billion, they reach the status of America as a God king. They are almost godlike in that they are able to influence the lives of others like a god or a king. Now, we who practice Nichiren Buddhism chant the title of the Lotus Sutra, which is Myoho Renge Kyo. We add the word phrase Nam or Namu to the chant. Now, the word Namu means to awaken or to be amazed. Now, the word Myo means to open. It also means correct and mystic. The word Ho means the law or the 3,000 worlds in a momentary state of existence. Please understand that all phenomena in the universe is Myoho or universal phenomena. The word Ren means lotus flower, and Ge means its manifestations or the simultaneous law of cause and effect. The word Kyo means the teachings of the Buddha on understanding the universal laws. Now, when we look at Donald J. Trump, we see the manifestation of the universal law of cause and effect. A billionaire has the power to affect the lives of millions of people. This is why we refer to Billionaire Trump as a God King. Now, the Gold Show reads, quote, "Only Buddhas know the true entity of all phenomena. That is, all phenomena manifest themselves into 10 aspects. That is, there's an appearance, there's a nature, there's an entity, there's a power, there's an influence, there's an inherent cause, there's a relationship, there's a latent effect, a manifest effect, and a consistency of beginning to the end." Now, when we look at Donald J. Trump, we have to not just look at Donald J. Trump, but we have to look at his father, Frederick Christ Trump, who was born October 11th, 1905. Now, at 15 years old, he went into business with his mother, who signed the checks. In the late 1920s, Trump's father began building single-family houses in Queens, which were sold at about $3,980 each. By the mid-1930s, in the middle of the Great Depression, he helped to pioneer the concept of supermarkets, self-service supermarkets. In fact, he sold this idea and made a huge profit. Now, in the 1920s, he built houses in Queens. Later, he built houses for the military. After the war, he made such windfall profits building FHA houses for the government. And the things got so overwhelming that he came up under congressional investigation. Now, when Donald Trump was born in 1946, his dad was a very wealthy New York developer. Donald Trump was born into wealth and royalty. After graduating from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania in 1968, he joined the company and in 1971 was given control, later renaming it the Trump Organization. He has since built golf courses, hotels, New York City neighborhood, and other real estate properties, many of which bear his name. We, as Buddhists, can look at the law of cause and effect and understand Donald Trump. Buddhism, as taught via the Lotus Sutra, is understanding the law of cause and effect and all phenomena. Now, in the writings of Nichiren Shonin on the Go Show on Attaining Buddhahood reads, quote, "You must never think of any of the 80,000 sacred teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, Buddha's lifetime, or any of the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions in 3 existences outside yourself. Your practice of the Buddhist teachings will not relieve you of sufferings of birth and death in the least unless you perceive the true nature of your life. He goes on further. If you seek enlightenment outside yourself, then your performing even 10,000 practices and 10,000 good deeds will be in vain. It is like the case of a poor man who spends night and day counting his neighbor's wealth, but gains not even half a coin. Unquote. Now, in plain and common sense teachings, Buddhism teaches us that we must get a clear understanding of life and the workings of the universe. Donald J. Trump was born into a rich and powerful family, and he was born with many, many, many opportunities and advantages in life. Imagine being born in a war-torn country, or your family getting uprooted like what's happening in Syria. You could be born ugly, poor, or you could be born to some crackhead parents who want you to die. You could have been born in the worst circumstances imaginable. What Buddhism or the Buddhist teaching teach us is that we cannot seek enlightenment outside of our own lives. We can count or calculate Trump's billions, and we will not even gain a half a coin. Now, let's look at Frederick Trump, Christ Trump. Now, the word Namu means to awaken. Word has it that Donald Trump's father was in the Ku Klux Klan. Now, they have it listed that he was arrested at a Klan rally in 1927. They said that Donald Trump's father was a German, certainly he was a German, they say he was a Nazi supporter. In fact, he listed himself as Swedish because he had many Jewish tenants in his houses, and he had to tell them that he was not German, but he was Jewish. But he was Swedish, rather. Now, there's a folk singer by the name of Woody Guthrie. Woody Guthrie wrote a song about Trump's father's racism and how racist he was. Now, the apple don't fall too far from the tree. If these allegations are true about Trump's father, certainly Frederick Christ Trump influenced his son somewhat, and that we were very surprised to see Trump heading the birther movement. Did he legitimately believe that Barack Obama was not the president, or was he just attacking a black man? Now, one fact is true about Donald Trump, that in 1973, the federal government brought federal suit against the Trump Organization for housing discrimination. Trump, or Donald Trump, did not rent his housing to black people, and he clearly discriminated against black people with his housing. Now, the Gold Show reads again, all phenomena manifests its true entity. That is, when we look at Trump and his challenges against Hispanics and blacks and minorities, the Gold Show reads that all phenomena manifest the true entity. That is, it has an appearance, a nature, an entity, a power, an influence, inherent cause, relationship, latent effect, manifest effect, and consistency from beginning to end. The phenomenon of Donald Trump manifests the 10 aspects described in Buddhism. Who Donald Trump is in 2016 is the result of causes and effects made before his birth, during his birth, and after his birth. Because Donald L. Trump is a billionaire, the causes he made, his nature makes causes, whereas his power and influence has the ability to significantly influence others. The way that Donald Trump influenced others on the relationship that one has with Donald Trump. Now, let's take this thing further. On January the 14th, Donald Trump said, quote, "I could shoot somebody and would not lose voters." The Republican Party started with 17 candidates. The last man standing was Donald Trump. It is the Buddhist teaching that explains this phenomenon. In the Go Show called The Strategy of the Lotus Sutra, Nichiren Shonin explains to his disciple, Shingo Kingo, and he writes, "When one comes to the end of one's good fortune, no strategy whatsoever avails. When one's karmic rewards are exhausted, even one's retainers no longer follow one. You survive because you still have both good fortune and rewards." Unquote. You see, Donald Trump survived because he has good fortune and rewards. The Buddhist religion teaches us that winning or losing is a matter of good fortune and rewards. Let us look at the case of Bill Cosby, who was once known as America's dad. In the course of life, one's fortune and rewards can change for good or bad. As in the case of Bill Cosby, who was one of the most beloved figures in America, now his fortune has changed. That is a case of good and bad fortune. Now, on the other hand, the election of President Barack Obama Jr., the first black president in the United States, it was a matter of his good fortune. The reason that Donald Trump can win is because he has good fortune and rewards. Those of us who are born in life come with good fortune and rewards. Good fortune and rewards, as Buddhism teaches, come from causes and effects that we have made through time and space. Now, in the Go Show, it's called The Roots of Good Fortune. It reads, quote, "The wealthy man, Sudatta, was the richest person in all of India. He built Javata Jetvana monastery as an offering and invited the Buddha there. Yet his monastery burned down, and not a trace of it remained. This rich man originally gained wealth by catching and selling fish, thus depriving them of life, and therefore, in the end, this monastery disappeared." He goes on further. In the same way, the donations made by people today may seem impressive, but they are offering one's fiefs won in battle or wealth gained by heedlessly oppressing the people. Though these gifts appear to be great acts of devotion to the Buddha, not only will the people who offer them fail to attain Buddhahood, but their contributions will vanish without a trace. Unquote. You see, Buddhism teaches about the law of cause and effect. We who practice Buddhism chant the words Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo means to awaken. Myo means correct. Ho means law or 3,000 worlds. Ren means lotus, which means representative of the simultaneous law of cause and effect. Gay represents his manifestations, and Kyo means teachings. In simple terms, we awaken to the correct law of cause and effect teachings. Now, let us take this a bit deeper. It is the Lotus Sutra that teach us that the past, present, and future exist in a single moment of life. In the Gold Show, conversation between a sage and an enlightened man reads, quote, "Though you may move among the exalted company of court nobles, your hair done up elegantly like clouds in sleeves fluttering like the eddies of snow, such pleasures, when you stop to consider them, are no more than a dream within a dream. You must come to rest at last under the carpet of weeds at the foot of the hill, and all your jewel daisies and brocade hangings will mean nothing to you on the road to the afterlife," unquote. See, take a look at the handsome Donald Trump, who is 69 years old at the time of this lecture. Now, Buddhism teaches us that life goes through birth, growth, maturity, and death. Now, we Buddhists chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, or we practice to awaken to the correct law of cause and effect teachings. Now, the Go Show, happiness in this world reads, quote, "Could enjoy themselves at ease mean anything but both our bodies and minds, lives and environments are entities of the 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. And Buddhists of limitless joy, there is no true happiness other than upholding faith in the Lotus Sutra. This is what is meant by peace and security in their present existence and good circumstances and future existences." Now, unquote. How does Buddhism relate to Donald J. Trump? Whether he does or does not get to be the President of the United States of America, Myoho Renge Kyo, or the mystic law of cause and effect phenomena, is the same. Looking at the presidential race, we see the ultimate law of cause and effect working. Now, Nietzsche explains in the Gold Show is called the entity of the mystic law, and it reads, quote, "These two aspects, the deluded and the enlightened, are indeed two different phenomena, and yet both are workings of one principle, that is, the essential nature of phenomena, or the true aspect of reality. It is like a piece of crystal. If the crystal is placed in the sun rays, it will attract them and produce fire. But if it is placed in the moon's rays, it will produce water. The crystal is a single entity, but the effects it produces differ according to the circumstances. Some people are born in this world to make this world a better place. And their highest goal in the world is not to amass huge amounts of wealth. Some people, their goal is to make a difference in society. Now, there is a difference between being wealthy and being enlightened. See, an enlightened person understands that life is cyclic, that life goes through birth, growth, maturity, and death. And on this particular time and space in life, they are born and they choose to be born to advance humanity. That's what Buddhism is about. Buddhism teaches you how to reach your greatest potential and to find your enlightened life condition and to find your mission and your joy in life. So when it says there are no greater happiness than chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it means finding peace and happiness in this existence and good circumstances in your next existence. I am Anthony M. Elmore, President and Founder of the Proud Black Buddhist World Association. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's the way to make your karma go. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's the way to make your karma go. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's the way to make your karma go. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, it's the way. I found myself a brand new mission to help others make a big decision. Bring to you as no religion. It's not the religion that you expect. It's only what the laws are cause and effect. Devotion to the middle of the call of teaching. We do a line of wisdom preaching. No more life with any drama. We change the words and change our karma. We bring to you the new Buddha way. We bring to you the new way to pray. After long prayers, a lot of meditation, I bring to you the Buddhist conversation. We can change our human relations. We bring to you the culture integration. It's about peace and love and changing situations. This turning in Buddhism makes a lot of sense. It's about self-development and enlightenment. I made the decision to join the Buddha way. I joined the Buddhist and called it as faith. Buddhism is new to America and like a tree. What does the word of the China admit? Function to the middle of the call of the teaching. Different learning from a Christian preaching. Buddhism makes a lot of sense. Self-development and enlightenment. Becoming a Buddhist is a good decision. Look at yourself and find inner wisdom. The function to the middle of the call of the teaching. While we only have Japanese preaching, the Buddhist religion is the way to go. I will find our leader in Tokyo. I wanted to Buddha way. I should follow sensei. I no longer do it his way. Went to a temple called Taiseki Chi. The courage of the temple don't relate to me. In 2014 I left the Buddhist temple. I teach the Buddhism, that's more simple. Literature man that you don't have the knowledge. I want you to check my logic. The whole way I teach Buddhism, I give the people a good rhythm. I'm not like a priest at their temple. I teach Buddhism and make it simple. You don't need a college to explain it. Singing and dancing is the of the language. Function to the middle of the call of the teaching. We teach it with the wisdom preaching. We can teach the wisdom all of the on it. We follow the religion that's shown.